We started recording, and then let me quickly say what I said again once more. So we need multiple things, right? So we need to import this select option. That is where what we do. We need to also get to this website. So this is the variable which you store the website in. Cool. And yeah. All right. So now what am I doing? I'm basically, let me actually do it in Chrome since you guys are all using Chrome only. So if I go in Chrome, I open this website, right? So you get to this National Family Health Survey website. If you like cannot copy from chat, just like type National Family Health Survey India and then in Google, and then you should be able to get to this website. Cool. So now what were we doing? We were saying that, okay, we need to get to this state selector because that's how we can download all of these state files. So right click on the page, inspect, and once you inspect, oops, stupid. Okay. So once you inspect, you see this arrow, then you just click on that arrow. So Akash, you can try this out, right? But you cannot do the Selenium bit, but you can at least try this bit out. So like keep trying with me when you're doing it. Yeah. So you see this little arrow. So you click on that arrow. And now we go to the element that we want to copy. So this is the element that we want to copy. Click on that element. Now this part has been highlighted. And this is the state search select box. So one way to tell Python what it is. So these are like the different addresses that this thing has. We will use something called as the XPath. And I'll copy the full XPath just in case there are like multiple with the same one. So copy full XPath and then go back to your console, or basically you can keep saving this in the main file that you have created, like that command one by one, you can just put it. So eventually you know where you are going with this. So I create this new variable called state XPath and I copy it there. So I create this new variable state XPath and I just copy this in quotation marks, right? So as a string, I save it. Now what do? I want to now select it. So I create this new element called state selector. And I'll just tell you in a minute what we're doing. So we again,
Prankur, when I'm putting that from Selenium WebDriver select, it's showing an error. It's saying no module named Selenium WebDriver dot select is there.
we're getting
No
a
module.
what is the
I'm
error?
getting. Yeah.
No module called Selenium.
Yeah. No module named Selenium dot WebDriver dot select.
Did you type from this
Yeah.
entire selenium.webdriver.support.select?
Okay. I wrote like the code is run from Selenium import WebDriver driver equals to WebDriver dot Chrome. Then from Selenium WebDriver dot select import select. And when I'm doing that, yeah.
Said from selenium.webdriver.select, right? It is not that. It is from selenium.webdriver.support.select. So you missed a.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Works now.
Yeah.
So where were we? We had state XPath here, and now what do we want? Next thing that we want is we want to select this, right? So how do we select this? So I was saying you have something called as a state selector. So you basically any variable name, and now you select. But select what? We need to tell it which element to select. So WebDriver is our way to link. Sorry, driver is our way to link to this. Cool. So driver dot now find Let's actually see what all can driver do for us, right? We need to find an element. So let's say find. You see, so find element, you can find element by multiple ways. And then there is one called find element by XPath, which is what we are going to use. Okay. So what are we going to do? Find element by XPath. Cool. So find element by XPath. So this is going to find our element. And which element is it? You provided the XPath. What is the XPath? It is stored in state XPath. Okay, so this is the find element, and it found this element, right? It's calling whatever. This is like Python's language of telling it what element it is, but this is the Firefox element. You guys will have a Chrome element, very similar to this. Cool. So no problems there. But now, so this is the element. So this is how we find an element. This line of code tells you how to find an element. How do we select it? We just put this entire thing under a select bracket. Okay. So we put select, and now this is going to select it. But we just don't want to select it. We want to select it and have a link to it. So how do we have a link to something? We store those things in a variable name, right? So let's call this a state selector. Cool. So now this variable state selector provides a link directly to just this element. So let's see what all options do we have in this state selector. State selector dot tab. You see there are like all of these things that you can do. All selected is multiple, deselect all options, deselect by index. So just by the name, you can tell what is going on, right? Now there is something called as options, and then there is something called as select by visible text. We are going to use these two things. First, let's see what options is. So dot options. Okay, it's not callable. So maybe it is just this. Okay, that is perfect, right? So it is not a function, it's an attribute. And it has something in it, like some weird shit happened. Now, what is all of that? So state selector dot options. What is the type of this? So it's a list. So it's a list of options. So all the options are stored as a list. Okay. Is everyone with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have this list. So now what do we do next? We have these options. So let's just select one of them. Or maybe let's first store all of these options in a variable called states. And now just check one of these. Let me check the first one. Again, this is like this something weird, but okay, let's try to see what I can do with it, right? So maybe if I do state selectors dot options and I choose one, and then if I want to do something on it, what can I do? Let's try text. So this is the first state, and then I'm trying text for that. I'm getting this. So what does that mean? What is text storing for all these options? And this was the list that we are working with. Right? Any guesses? What is text storing? Like what was that thing that we got? We got this, right? So why did we get that? What is the first option?
This is the first option, like state select UT.
Okay, so if I want to get Goa, what should I type?
A numeric like Goa is on 1, 2, 3, 6.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right?
7.
Yeah. Okay. If we type 7, let's just verify if that's correct. So if we type 7, what happens? We get Goa. Now, how do we select? Now, okay, so we know that, okay, this is how we are getting memes of all the states. Okay. So now what did I said that, okay, we need to select this maybe. So state selector was what we had. And then within the state selector, that is the main element, right? And then there is this option which says select by visible text. So, okay, let's use that. let's say select by visible text. Okay. And now let me select Goa. Right. So for Goa, we said, okay, this is the 7th state. And then the text gives us what it is. Okay, I pressed enter. Now nothing really happened. So that did not work. But what will happen if we do, which should have worked actually. But let's see. If I put this under a select, I might be forgetting like a, okay, now it's stale. It's been too long, probably, that's why. Oops. Oh, sorry. This is my thing, right? Like I'm not doing it in Chrome. So this is, so you see, like this was my original element. And now here we have, so Goa's file opened up. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is how it worked, right? Now it opened. And then what do we need to do next? We need to maybe download it, or we need to just go back. So if we want to go back, we press this and we go back. You see that? So we went back. Now what do we
Yeah.
want to do? Let's say we want to select another state. Okay, so let me try this. So it was just this, right? Like we said state selector, select by visible text. And then if I want to select the 5th state, okay, I'll get an error. Now, why did I get an error? The reason I got an error is because my state selector variable has become stale. What that means is the state selector, the thing that we stored the link to this element, that does not exist anymore because the page has been refreshed. So every time you will refresh the page, all the links that you create to that page will break. So you'll need to recreate those links, right? So what was the state selector? So this was state selector. We need to recreate that link. And once we recreate it, and then if I rerun this thing, I still got a stale element exception. Why did I get a stale element exception? Because this states that I had stored was also, like the states is also an element that I did not, like that was all created with that past option. So states was created with a X state selector. So this no longer exists. Like these options no longer exist. So you need to create that again. And then once you do that, then you should be able to get to what we wanted, right? Like this. Now we get state number 5, which was Bihar. So we get to that page. And now we can go back again. All good. Questions?
Why didn't like I just couldn't get like why didn't the earlier one work and we had to put it again?
So yeah, like so it did not work because so what was state selector? Let's look at the command for state selector, the first thing. So state selector stores this element, right? It selects an element and it stores that selection into the variable called state selector. Do you get that part?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So now there is this element. So it's like there are two entities, right? One we have Python and one is our web, like our browser, right? And on the internet browser, there is this website. And the website has too many things in it. And then, so one of those things is our state selector, like this thing. So what we do is using this command, we create a link between these two, right? So imagine there is a link. So there's a thread going from Python to this website in that place, on the state's place. Okay. So when the first time what we did was when we selected Goa, we refreshed this page and this page had Goa's report. So if I just click on this page, and if I create Karnataka, now there is this new page, right? So the old page is gone. The old page no longer exists. So how can the thread exist? So the thread breaks. Do you follow?
Yeah. Get it. I get it. Yeah.
So that is what happens. So when you do that, that thread is breaking. And how do we know that the thread is breaking? Because we are getting this error, which is called stale element reference exception. So what does that mean? That means that the element whose reference you're providing, that has gone stale. And if you just read this, the element reference of blah, blah, blah is stale. Either the element is no longer attached to the DOM, it is not in the current frame context, or the document has been refreshed. So Python is very good with its errors. So if you just read what it says, you figure out what the problem is. Like the error that we were trying to resolve with Akash's problem was that his Chrome driver cannot be found in the path. So when Python was running, it was saying that I cannot find this Chrome driver.exe in path. So when I'm running, I cannot find that file. And we were trying to resolve that, which we unfortunately couldn't. But that's how, like, you know what the error is, and then you know how to resolve it. So that's like, we should always read what the error really means, and then we should read it carefully, and then this is what you will, like, if you will program more, then these errors is how you will like go to the web and then try to search for them. Okay, cool. So that is done now, but what we need to do is we need to download this file. So how do we download that file? So there are multiple ways. There is like this one way that I found out, and then let me just use that, which I kind of forgot. So let me quickly see. How do we, oops. Okay, so that is all I had for save, but we need to download this web page now.
Pranko, can you put this as well on the Piazza, the script that you are using, like Ruby?
Yeah.
Like
Once
that.
we're done with the, like, yeah, I'll put that script too.
Great.
Okay. So that is how we do this. But then we need to also download this whole script, right? So let me quickly just give me a second. I'll pull up the script that I used to download that thing. So let's actually do this together, right? So now what is our goal? Our goal is to download now, right? So let's actually search for it. Let's search. So let's search download a PDF web page using Selenium. Because this is like something, every website will be different, right? So you'll eventually have to know how to sort of get that. So let's read the first link. What does it say? So, um, now it basically finds the download button and then it clicks on it, and then it downloads the PDF. Download underscore PDF. So what is it trying to do? It has the download folder, and then it's trying to use that download PDF. But what is the answer that we give, right? So here it is. So there is this browser.find element by tag name, it's getting an attribute, it's getting the PDF. So it's getting that page. So what are these people doing in this code? They are basically finding the download button, the same thing that we did. We found like the list button. So here they're downloading by downloading by finding the path for the download and then just clicking on it. So that is one way to do it. So now someone says there's another way to grab the file without clicking or downloading. The method also helps to download the file to your local driver. So you will find like all sorts of different ways. And now one thing that you should be able to do is you should be able to take the code from these websites or like these help groups or these forums, and then you should be able to tailor it to your purpose, right? So let's go back and see what our web page looks like. So if we go to this web page, this is what it looks like, right? We also have a download link. Now we can either click on that link and just download it like this, or we can simply like, do you see this web page itself has an address, right? A web address, which is a PDF file. So we need to find what library can we use to simply get a PDF. Okay. So let's search for that. Get a PDF using Selenium. How to download a PDF file with Python. So I cannot. Let's see if we find something. Here it is, right? So there is this little module that someone has written. Let's see what that does. Okay. So here is the URL that we need to provide. So something happened, but what happened? You see this file name.pdf on my computer got saved, right? And that is what we said we wanted. Now let me open that file name.pdf. And that is Assam's file. And what link did I use? Assam. So we found a code online that tells us how to download a PDF file. Now what is it doing? Let's go through it one by one. Where is our console? So this was the whole thing that we copied. Let me copy it in a new sort of, so in this script only. Oops. Where was it? No. All right. Okay, now can you guys see like this little code that we used? Hello? Hello? People?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So we import this new library called URL lib, and then we use the request option of that file, right? Like of this library. And then we are getting a response. We are basically storing the response from a URL. And what is the URL that we are using? We are using like this. This was the URL that we used, right? Like this was the PDF file for one of them. And then we enter that here. Cool. So in this variable response, we get the entire PDF file. So this PDF file we can get in response using this library. So this is URL library. URL library, we are requesting, we're using the request library, request function of the URL library. And then again, within the request, we're using this URL open function. So that is what we're doing. We are opening a URL basically, and then we are telling Python what the URL is. So this is the URL. So if we tell Python that is the URL, then we can save it as whatever file name we want. So we're using this file. There are multiple ways of downloading a web page. There is a particular library that you can use which directly downloads a page as a web page. So basically what happens is you just tell it has a simple function, and then you say that, okay, download google.com, and then it'll just download the Google's homepage. And then you will just get that saved on your computer. This is a different sort of a thing, right? In this, what we're doing is we are downloading this file, and we're downloading as this particular file name. We're giving it a new file name, and we download that. Questions? Go on. No questions. This is a little confusing because we're basically just using a new library, right? That's all we are doing. So if you have questions, ask me what is happening, why are we doing it like this, what's going on. No questions, everything is clear. This like complicated code is clear. Okay, someone speak up. Anyone speak up? Am I connected? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you try this out? Were
No,
you able
I have to. No, I have to do.
Let me paste this code. Actually, let me paste the URL from where I copied this code, right? This is where I found this piece of code. And then let me paste it in chat, right? Where is chat? Oopsie. Cool. So go to that, copy that code, and then use that to download the file. But basically, all I want to tell you with this is, with this simple code, like with this small code, what can we do? We can maybe create a function, right? Let's create a function called download file, and then let's pass URL, right? Let's pass URL in it. And then what does that function do? The function simply downloads and then let's pass URL, and then let's also pass fname, right? So what will this do? This will import this, and then it will use this line to basically download the function. And then here it'll open, you'll give it whatever file name you want to give, attach.pdf to it, and then it'll save on your computer like that. Okay. Sorry. So that's what it is going to do. So we have got that function now. Now what do we need? We need to, so we had this thing, right? Like what was our command? So this was, we went to the website, we like selected it, and then we had the options here, right? So states was state selector dot options, and then you can eliminate the first one because the first one was empty. And then you can select through visible thing, blah, blah, blah. So let me now quickly go through the code that we have written so far. So what all did we write? This is the address. We're writing the driver. We are getting the website. We're going to the website. Then we are selecting the drop down. Then we are selecting the options. We get these options here, right? What is the next thing that we need to do? The next thing we need to do is we need to create a loop for state in states. So what is this telling us? It's basically helping us go back to this option of states, right? Or another thing we need to do, we can do is remember, all we needed was the name of the states. So once we have this, we do for state in states. And then let me create an empty list for state names. What I want to do here is I want to store all state names first in one list. How can I do that? Can you guys tell me what to write in this loop? The objective is store all state names in the list state underscore names. How do we do it? Want to take a guess? Anyone? Wait, I'm not moving ahead if one of you does not take a guess. Because it's okay, no? Just take a guess. We're all learning. Yeah, Ramcharan.
For state in statements, after print statements, you will get what is the states in there.
If I print state, will I
How
get
many
the state
states?
name or will I get, what will I get? So what were we doing before? Remember? So let's again see in console what is happening, right? So this is our console.
Okay.
Let's open the console again. This is the console, right?
Yeah.
How did we provide the name? We said the state, we selected the state. So we said, okay, the fifth state, the text will be the name,
Okay.
right? So let me actually let's open the website again. So we start. So this is the website we opened. Okay. So you guys can see the website now. Now, what did we do next?
Yes.
What is the next thing that we do?
We have to right click incept and
We have to write what?
have to go for incept for copying the link or
Yeah. So we inspect and then we copy the link. So the link we have, we stored it in state XPath or something, right? So we have state XPath.
okay.
Then here we have the link. That was the link. Now what do we do next? We got the link to this thing. How do we link it to? How do we create that thread that I was talking about? We create a thread from Python to that, right? So what do we do?
State XPath will be, we have to analyze with other variable. We have to name with other variable, or otherwise state XPath will be, we can slice that one because I'm asking, I have doubt.
So what are you asking? What's the question?
No, state path will be have to slice or state XPath. Whether you
This
created
is
that
the
one.
state expert. We got it, right?
Okay,
So we
the
already got
body.
it, right? From specs.
Yeah, that body will be that state. The select state and the UT will be included in that link, na? Both.
Yeah, this whole thing will be included. Okay. So,
Yep.
but what is the next thing? How did we create? So we created this thing called state selector, right? And we select the element. How do we select the element? What element? How do we tell Python what is the element that you need to select? We do driver dot find element, right? We need to find this element by using the XPath of the element, right? So we use find element by XPath, right? And that is how we create this thread. Now a thread has been created. We have selected that path. How did we select that path? We first found the path using inspect and all. Once we found that path, we just store in this. You can directly also write this whole thing in here, but we stored it in that. And then we told driver to find an element using the XPath by passing that as a sort of a parameter, right? And then once so this is the element that Python found, right? So just this part of the code that I've highlighted, this is just finding that element. And now what is this select doing? This select is creating that thread from the web browser to Python, right? And state selector, we are saving that thread. So we are using state selector to reference to that thread. Clear?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now we have that. And now what did I say next? Next we were like, okay, let's see what all things does this thing have. So it had something called as options. And then when we check the type of those things, it was a list. So this state selector dot options, it gives us a list of states, right? So what do? We store that list in state selector dot options. Sorry, options. Okay. Now someone tell me, how do I print? I want to print the name of all states. How can I do that? Okay, like first you tell me, how do I print the name of one state? Any one state you choose and you tell me how to print the name of that state.
Print state. Print state.
Eight.
Slice that one like a bracket. One or like one and close that one. Just trying. Just I'm trying it.
Okay, so this would be states, right? There is nothing called as
Yeah,
states.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So this is the first. So you're typing the first state. We get this weird thing. So this is like, because this is the whole property. This is the whole element. You're right. This is the first element of this is probably this is zero is this, one is this, but it is not the name. We need the name. How do we get the name? So we just do this. So this states. So what does states have? States have all of the states, right? So it has all the states, but all of these are not. All of these are the options, right? Like these are all independent options, and each of these options have a property, right? So if I do this, then I get the name. If I don't do this, if I want to do, let's say, click, I don't know if this will work or not, but this works. So you can click on it also. So all of these options have a property. So like there are different ways of coding website. Like last time. Okay, now we went back. Now let me try this again. I get an error. Why do I get an error now? Someone tell me
What is the
why
Thread
code?
is broken
the thread is broken, right? We talked
because
about
you went back again and then you have to put it again. The whole state equals to, and you have to decide a path for it.
Yeah, so now the path is still the same. So we can just run this because the website remains the same, right? There could be a website where the path also changes every time, but those are like very complicated websites and we are not dealing with them right now. We're dealing with easy, simple websites. So all we need to do is we create that again and then we get the options again, right? So that is what we get. Now, what do we want? We want, so this is like last time what we did was we used a different options. What did we use? We went through this and then we said select, right? Last time we did this like this. We said, okay, state selector, you have select by index, select by visible text, select by value. So we said, okay, select by visible text. And then we wanted to select it by visible text, whatever the visible text was. We said, okay, states, and then states, let's say 2 dot text. So that is the visible text. And then we select it and then we go to the next page. Okay. There are more options, right? Like let's go back again and let's try this out like more. Because there are like multiple ways you can do this. We again select this. Now we know there are many. So now this set state selector dot select. Let me see. How can I say? So it says something called as a select by index. But let's try that. So select by index, it says select the option at the given index. This is done by examining the index attribute of an element and not merely by counting. The option at this index will be selected. Okay. So now this is a little risky because we don't know what index it is. But let's try 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what happens if I put 3 and if I select that. So it was Arunachal Pradesh gets selected here. And what was the third one? 0, 1, 2, 3. It was Arunachal Pradesh and Arunachal Pradesh got selected. So we can directly do this also. But what is like, so sometimes what will happen is like you saw how, read the help. It says this is done, sorry. So the help file says this is done by examining the index attribute of an element and not merely by counting. What does that mean? It means when we see a list, we know that, okay, list starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But these websites, when someone has designed this website, usually they should do it in the same way. They should have 0, 1, 2, 3. But it is possible that someone put a different index, So it is possible that instead of Arunachal Pradesh being 3, someone put it as 30, whoever coded the website. And you will see these sorts of errors. So that's why it is important to, so that is why I am using the name, because when we are using the name, we know that, okay, if I say Arunachal Pradesh, then this data will correspond to Arunachal Pradesh, right? So when I say name, I know what state it is. I know what file it is, right? And I know that I'm selecting the right file. So which is why we are using this extra step to get to the name. Cool. Okay. Now let's go back to our original question. So what was the question? The question I asked you guys was, I have this, and then in states, I have this. Now I want to store the names of all the states together. So state names, right? And I say for state in states. Now in this loop, I want to store all the state names together. What should I do? How should we store all state names together? Come on. We just talked about how to get one state name, right? Like here we
Yeah,
got
state select by index or anything, and then bracket 3 dot.
I just want the name. I don't want to select. Right now, I don't even want to interact with the website. I just want to get the names of all the states. That's all. So how you think about this is, so what is this loop doing? This loop is selecting one state at a time, right? Not selecting. It is just going through the options one by one. All you need to tell me is when it is at one option, how do we get the name of that option? Right? What is the command that we should write to get the name of that option? So if I'm selecting, like, if currently this is the element I'm accessing, this Himachal Pradesh element. So if I click on this element, if I use dot click, then I will click on that element and then it will take me to the next page. But I don't want to click on it. I just want to get the name of it. I just want to know the name of that option. How do I get the name of that option? What should I print? What will give me the name?
Print state name.
State name. But what is state name?
Yeah.
There is no variable called state name, right?
State names will be.
State names is empty. We have not stored anything in state name. We want to store. What will happen if I do this?
Mm.
So, okay, let's talk about what happened here. So states was the list of all the options, right? So it's the list of all the options, meaning it is the list of all of these things, all these different options, right? These are the different options, and then that all these options are stored in states. Now, what do we want? We are going through each of them one by one. So first we are here, and then we are on India, then we are on Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Bihar. One by one, we are moving through these states. And now when we are at a particular state, so when, let's say, so the first state is this, right? The first option is this rather. So this is the first state. And now what do we say? We say, give me the text of this thing, this element. And what is the text? The text is this dash 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 select ut. So we get that text and then we print it. So this is why it prints this. Next time it comes around, now it is on India. So it prints India. The next time it is on Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Bihar, and then so on and so forth. So this list matches this list. Does that make sense now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go back. Now we don't want to print it. We need to store all of this in this list called state names. How do we do that? How do I store it in this list? We did this when we did prime factors, right? So we did like we stored all prime factors in a list. How did we do that? We need to do the same thing now. How do we do it?
We will put in state text in that state.
Okay, so how do we
State
put the
name.
state? How do we put it in there? What should I write?
The list name state names equals to
This Akash. No. So there was this command, right? Which we used, dot append.
yeah, we will use append.
What is state names? It's got all of the names. So we have all the names. Let's go back to our main code. So here, instead of print states, we need to get state names. And then I need to store all of the names. And the way we do that is we do state.text, right? Sorry.
We will not use append here.
We will use them. So that is what happens. Okay, okay, cool. So we do that. And this function, let me move it up so we know that this function exists. So we wrote this function and then we'll use that function to basically store our file names, all of the files. And you see, like these are my files here. So like these are the files that are stored. I had already like tried this with something else. And so these are like all fact sheets and blah, blah, blah. But let me actually go to that folder and just change that. So because now we download it. So just to show you guys that it got downloaded and all. Okay. Right. And there are like different ways to download files. We can go through it some other time maybe. But now we have all the state names. So all we need to do is we need to find each of the elements and we need to click on it, right? And then we need to keep doing this. So what do we do? And so why are we slicing this? Why are we slicing it from 1 till the end? Why are we doing this? One, what does it do? And then secondly, why are we doing this?
It goes from 1 to the end.
But why does it go from 1 till the end? Why are we excluding? What are we excluding and why are we excluding it?
We are excluding the first one, the select state, like the UT, excluding that one and the printing the remaining.
Exactly. So we are excluding this one because we don't need that, right? Like we need to start from India and we need to keep going till the end. Perfect. Okay. So now we have stored all the state names. So what do we need to do? We need to do for, again, we will do for state in state names now, right? So we are going through every name. And then for every name, what do we need to do? We need to just first thing I will do is I will just make sure that my thread is maintained, right? So this will connect my thread, right? Then the next thing that what is the next thing that we do? Let's go to the website. So we created the thread. Now we need to select that option. Okay. So how do we select that option? So we first find that option. So we see find element by visible text, right? We use this. We had used this earlier. And what should I write in between the brackets now? What should I do? Sorry, this is not find element. What did I write wrong here? What is it? It's not find element, no? It's select. We want to select it, right? It's select by visible text. Now what do I write here? Come on, we were doing this. We were just doing this. We selected so many. I showed you how to select by index. I showed you like a different way. We clicked on it. We did like multiple things. What should we select it by? So select by visible text. What should I write here?
The state's name.
And how and where is the state name? How will I get that? In this loop, where are we getting the state name from?
We have created state names itself. We are created as a state names itself. We are created. No? One thing.
Yeah, but that is a list of all the names, right?
Okay.
Just need one name. So where is the one name? Like, where is the name? It is in state. So you're right. So state name is the list of all. And then this loop, what it is doing is it is going through each name one by one. And where does it store that name? It stores that name in state. Like here, it was storing the option state in state. Here, that's storing it in the name, right? Make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Question? So Akash said state.text. The reason why we don't have text now, Akash, is because here we had that option. Like we need to see what we are looping over, right? Here, when we were looping over, these were all the options. So states contains all of the options that the drop-down menu has. And options are not just text. Options are also like different things. So that is why when we use .text in the options, we know that, okay, text will give us the name. Here, but when we are looping over state names, we already extracted the names. So now we are looping only over the names. We are not looping over HTML elements or web elements or anything like that. Now we are just looping over the names. So this state names has all the names. It has like Arunachal Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, and all of that one by one. So when we are looping over that, what we will get is the names, right? Just to demonstrate that, let me open the console once again. Right, so what was state names? So state names is this list. So for state in state names, this is what we're doing, right? For state in state names, what does state contain? You see, state contains the names of the states. On the contrary, if we do for state in states, which we did originally, and then we just print states, you see what we get? These are all web elements. And then how can we check what it is? Let's see, type states, just select any one of those and then see what its type is. Its type is a Selenium WebDriver. It's a Firefox element. So it's a web element. But when we do type state names, this is a string because this is just a name, right? Make sense or clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are selecting the state. Now, once we select it, what will happen? We'll get to the URL. So once I select this, it will take me to that page, right? Now, okay, let me just select it. And so now we get to this page. Now, what do we want for our download? If you want to download this function, what two things do we need to tell the, let's go back. So this is our download function, right? If we run this function, we'll be able to download, but what is the two things that it needs? What all do we need to provide to download this file? How will we download that file?
URL and URL.
URL and
File.
Type of
Path.
the file will be.
Yeah, Taha, what were you saying?
Path. The path where we are downloading it.
Yeah, the path or the name of the file where what we want, right? Basically, the path is essentially the name. Okay. So let's go back to console and then see if we can figure out the first thing. First thing we need is the URL. So this is what we need. So how do we get that? Now, basically, we used driver earlier. Now, driver has all of these different options. So it does get screenshot, get blah, blah, and like, so it gives us a lot of options. So let me first see what all options do we get in get. So it says get cookie, get window size, get screenshot. So you can even get a screenshot or something, right? But we cannot get URL. Let's just see if there is a function called as driver.url. So there is no function called as a URL, right? But then in this, somewhere, there will be something which will basically tell us what, what is the URL of the element. What is sort of the
current URL. There is current URL.
You see it?
Yes, I have seen it. It is if you scroll down, it is there.
Yes.
So let's see. So you say it is current URL, right? So it's current window handle and then current URL. So we press that, we get that, right? So that's what I meant. Like when you know where to look, you will be able to find it, right? So it's driver.current URL. And that is what gives us the URL. So once we get the URL, we know that, okay, we have the URL. Now we can basically run this file. So we get the URL. So let's store this in URL, driver.current URL. We got the URL. That's very good. Now, what to do next? The next thing we need to do is have a file name and basically just download, just run that. So what is that function called? It's called download file. So we will do download file. We'll call the function. URL we have downloaded. And then for file name, just the state name is good, right? Like the file name will be called assam.pdf if it corresponds to Assam, and that is good enough. And for the path, if you're not providing the full path, it will just be stored in the working directory, which you will just see because this file is in this, you will see all of them being downloaded here, right? And okay, are we done now? Should we just run this and then will it work? Or do we need to do something else in this loop? So let's go through step by step what all did we do. So first we are making this thread to the path. Then we are selecting it and we are going to the next page. Now we are retrieving the URL of that page and then we are downloading that page. Okay, so that we did. Now what should we do next? Should we just leave this? If we run this, what will happen? So one thing, think. What do we need to do? Do we need to do anything or are we done? Is this all the code we need to download all the files? That's like the last question. We are already like 30 minutes over today because we started late, but we'll be done at 9. So like just 4 more minutes. And then we are done. Basically, we downloaded all the files, right? So what do we do? Come on. Okay, like at least, okay, let's just do a poll. Okay, so first, who all thinks that we are done? Like this is done. It will download all the files. So all three of
I think no, I don't think it's done.
I think we need to return it.
Yeah, we need to go back, right? So once we are download, we return. Now are we done? So we went back. Are we done now?
We'll have to put in the states.
What? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Go ahead.
Drive back state.
Driver.back state, but we are just going back. So like this will basically press the back button. So that should do, right? Like so it was here. Now it'll press the back button and this will go there. That is what has happened. So next, do we need to do something else? So it pressed the back button. Now it moves to next state and then it again creates the thread. Then it'll again select it. So it'll move to the report. It'll down here, it gets the URL, here it downloads, here it goes back, and then so on and so forth. I think we are done. It was not like a trick question or anything. So like if you guys do you guys think there'll be an error now? There might be, but what do you think? Do we need to do something else or should we try running this?
We can run this one.
Let's see what happens. Veranda. So Firefox open. Right, that's the first thing. It opens that file. So I got an error. It says unable to locate the element. Right? Now you can find this error happening sometimes because what happens is the page gets loaded. And then once the page gets loaded, sometimes it takes time for the page to completely load, right? So when that will happen, when the page has not completely loaded, you will get an error like this, no such element exception. So it's unable to locate, right? Also, let me just make sure, because this is like an old file, let me just make sure the X path is correct. And then we'll run it again. Okay, let me quickly find the X path. There was it. Full X path, and then let's just go back, and there is the X path. Yeah, it looks like it is the same. Or maybe it's not this way. All right. I'm just going to, so what I'm going to do also is I'm not going to do this completely. I'm just going to run it for the first 5 or something. So we are not, like we don't take too much time. Okay. Let's see if it will run now. Otherwise, like there are like ways to resolve it. Yeah, I think it will run now because the element was wrong. Okay, it goes to the web page. Now it selects India, the first one, probably downloads it, goes back, selects Andhra Pradesh, downloads it, goes back, selects Arunachal Pradesh, downloads it, goes back, Assam, downloaded, went back, Bihar, downloaded, went back, and then it stopped because like we programmed it to just do 5. Wasn't that cool? So it already automatically happened. I was not doing anything, right? So we wrote a scraper. Now let's see if in our files we see something new. Okay, because did we get those files? So here you see bihar.pdf, assam.pdf. Let me actually open the folder and date modified. You see these are the 5 files that just got downloaded, right? Like the time here is 9. So that's why you see 9 a.m. And then this is India. And then if we open this file, this is the full fact sheet. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Questions? Sorry. Any questions? No questions?
There are like scrapings that directly goes to like Excel.
Scraping that directly goes to Excel. So there is, so what you can do is, so right now, like this was a PDF, right? So what you can do is you can use, like there are libraries which will help you. So there is this library called Tabula. Let me actually write this here. Use Tabula to scrape tables from PDF. So what Tabula does is Tabula will help you get this file itself, right? What you can do is, and maybe like we'll talk about this and we'll see like if I have enough time to do another session, then we can maybe do that. And then what we will do is I think we can do, like we'll discuss this and then we'll let you know. But then for now, there's this library called Tabula. And then like today we use Selenium, right? So you installed that and you used it. Similarly, there's this library called Tabula. If you use that, you can get tables in Python as pandas, right? We did pandas. And then once you have a pandas data frame, you can use that to sort of store it as a PDF, as an Excel. Like as a very quick example, like if you have a pandas data frame, all you have to do is, so if you have import pandas as PD, so if we have import pandas as PD, do you have data frame already? Okay. So if you have, so if you have data frame is equals to PD dot right, so let's say this is an empty data frame, but what you can do is there is a to CSV option, and then you provide the file path and everything. So this is why we learned pandas. So in pandas, you do the table, and then once you get the table in pandas, you can sort of send it to Excel or something. Yeah. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah.
There are also like very different, like, so there are ways in which, so sometimes if you see data on the website itself, you can then use different libraries to get that data also. Like, because this is a very quick sort of a workshop, we did just very simple thing, which is like we went to websites and we saw that, okay, how do we download this website? And then that's all we are doing. But yeah, there are like advanced methods in which you can read websites. It'll eventually be just using libraries. So like today, the reason why I was looking up online to download that file was because that is what we need to do most of the time, right? Like most of the time, we will not remember code, but you should be able to Google it, and then you should be able to understand code and then just apply it to your case. This is what we were discussing in assignments, that the idea is that you will have a unique problem every time. Every time you have a new website to scrape, you will have the unique recording. So, like that's what, sorry, the unique website, then there'll be a unique code for it. So if there's a unique code for every website, then what you should need to know is that how do you do different things, and that is so the logic for that is this: that you need to create connections, and then you need to be able to interpret errors, and then go from there, right? Anything else? And yeah, like so today's we have recorded today's lecture. I will just stop recording now so that no more questions. Okay, so I'll stop recording.